This guy's about to be blasting pumped up kicks as he goes to school. Yo, Truck Coon coming in. Alright, this is the sickest show of the season, bro. Ain't no one calling this shit average. That's no, bro, you can't do me like that. Shiki finally made me proud here. You know the internet's reaching a godly level of miserable when you can have such a fun first episode that just hits you. You're like, okay, this is another big shonen that's about to be a banger. And people out here calling it mid. Get your negative Nancy asses out of here. This was fire. Drop a like, share your support. Subscribe if you're new around here. Patrons where you're going to catch those full live reactions and exclusives. So, Tougen Anki, I believe is what we're calling this one. Incredible. Shiki as an MC pissed me off initially. I was like, what is this little school shooter doing? Like, immediately he's like, I don't care about you, Dad. We're not even biologically related. And then the first scene I see is this man has a picture of him as a little boy because he raised him like he was his own. I was like, this piece of shit. And immediately they up the ante where it's like, okay, we got Onis and we got this family. History, they've hated each other. So our main character Shiki is apparently an Oni. And, you know, the Momotaro family line don't like the Onis and immediately tried to kill this boy. Turns out his adoptive dad actually was a part of this family at one point before leaving and protecting who's supposed to be his sworn enemy. I'm not sure if it's going to be a case of, you know, family friend took it on, you know, because blah, 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 or just he saw an innocent kid and wanted to give him hope. But either way, the fact that he just runs him over with a car and says, get in, son, as we got this, like, weird shadowy manifestation of cool shit. Like, it was so cool with how they detailed the action. And when you see him transform into his Oni form, and the first thing he does, he just decides to put the soundtrack of his life on, pumped up kicks, and starts blasting with his guns. It was like Carnage from Spider-Man with a bunch of guns and boat-level missiles. The production was insane. The art direction was solid. I mean, I've heard a lot of different things about this show. I've heard people say it's kind of like a Blue Exorcist meets Jujutsu Kaisen meets like Chainsaw. Like, there's a lot of different comparisons. And to be honest, I would definitely say I found more Blue Exorcist vibes for sure. But either way, it definitely has its own style and identity. The thing that got me was I was like, okay, for sure they're going to kill this man off. There's no way he survives. And then he does survive. And then I was like, okay, we're getting our goodbye. And when he pulls him up and he's like, you know what, bastard, I'm not gonna... Like, I thought they were actually breaking the cliche there. I'm not gonna let you do your sappy goodbye, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay, you know. Maybe some Oni magic gonna... No, he did. He did. The amount of whiplash Shiki as a character gave me watching this first episode. Like, my initial impression of him was he has a room full of guns. And I'm pretty sure they're in Japan. And I assume they're in a Japan very similar to the one in our world, so that shit wasn't legal. And when asked, why do you have guns? I don't give a shit. It's not your... You know, you shouldn't ask me these questions. You're living under his roof, dumbass. I think he has a right to know why you got the Glocks and everything else just hanging on your wall. Definitely didn't give me the strongest first impression, but to be honest, I was expecting to leave this first episode not really vibing with him as a person, outside of his cool-ass abilities. Thankfully, the final few minutes of the episode made me appreciate him more. You know, that scene when he's, like, basically begging. I haven't even got to tell you, like, you know, basically saying, like, you know, you even if we weren't biologically related, you are my dad at the end of the day. He never got to say that, but I think, given how that whole scene played out before he did die, I think it's pretty clear he realized that, you know, maybe he's harsh with his words, but at the end of the day, you know, it was a father-son thing. They hit with the emotional, they had some funniness, they had a very cool-looking world and system already, and I mean, despite the concept of, like, Onis and, like, some sort of family or demon hunters, whatever it is, like, you see that type of stuff a lot, and Onis have definitely become more relevant again in recent anime memory. At the end of the day, I do like what they're doing here, and I think what was the nice kind of fun twist to it was the fact that they confirmed who was his, basically, dad, worked for the family, or was a part of the family, the clan, that is supposed to be hunting Onis, yet he made it his mission to raise a kid, who was Oni. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. It seems like we're probably going to have like a school-like environment, which a lot of these shows have. He was basically taken in, if you watch the opening at the end of the episode, they give you a tease of a bunch of characters, and in general, it just gives me the vibe that this will be where he learns how to hopefully control his abilities, how he'll, function, and all the other stuff that it will do. I think it's great. I think for some reason there's a divide. Half the comments I see on this episode so far is, damn, this shit's fire, this is gas, this is awesome. And then it's like, oh, pretty mid-premiere. Not like, I don't. All I'm saying is if this is what mid looks like to people, I am so happy that I apparently like mid anime, because this shit was fun as hell. There are so many great first episodes this season, some of which are kind of in the same department and ballpark, and then others doing vastly different things. You got Topki's Original Sin, The Summer Hikaru Died. You have these shows that are kind of more in that shonen bubble, like a Tougen Anki. You got Gachakuda as an example, right? These shows are just delivering such perfect first episodes that I was expecting shows like these, because I was pretty excited for this one just based on the trailer. But it pretty much surpassed my expectation. If this show somehow gets slept on, or people call this mid, like, I remember when I was talking about the first season of Kaiju number 8, people tried that shit at the start of Kaiju number 8 too, and thankfully it survived the false allegations. I hope this one does too. I don't know a lot about the source material. I think it's a relatively newer manga. Didn't start in like 2020 or in that area. So I don't know how much content's out or whatever. But in general, while this may not end up being the biggest new gen shonen or whatever, I definitely think this is much better than your average run-of-the-mill shonens that come out every so often. This show is clearly getting a lot of attention to the production, the 3D, the 2D, everything they're doing. The Carnage-like shots of him and his gunfight, it looks cool. But most importantly, even when I was frustrated with the main character, there was always something I liked about the characters and world in the meantime, and given that they make me leave this episode liking Shiki, even if he made some mistakes in this episode, has me excited to watch his journey of self-growth after losing so much in a very short amount of time. This was a great first episode. I will refuse to be told this was mid. I mean, people are free to think it was mid, but you're not going to convince me it was. This shit was a banger, and without a doubt, one of my top 5 first episodes of the summer season. Summer season has been way better than I expected. I didn't think it was going to be this good of a season. I thought probably half the shows I thought looked cool were going to drop off. And the only show that I really watched so far this season that I would even consider mid, but still was enjoyable mid, would be that Apocalypse Ringer show. This is an amazing freaking season of anime. Thoughts down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell, and Patrons where the full live reactions and exclusives live. Like, hey, I give a video shout out to all of my patrons. So today we got Waka866, Andy, Little Bandit, Joseph, Attilia Farkas, 46, No Name Needed, Doc, and we also have Tyrun. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. You all have a good one.